My boss cornered me in the supply room and said, "Garrett, why do you avoid being alone with me?" And my throat closed up because Natalie Brennan, the 38-year-old director of operations who controlled my entire career, was standing 3 feet away in a locked room, and I could see tears gathering in her eyes. I'd been avoiding being alone with her for 2 months straight, taking stairs to dodge elevators, leaving meetings the second they ended, bringing coffee for everyone except her. "Tell me the truth," she whispered, and her voice cracked. "Did I do something wrong? Do I make you uncomfortable? Is it because I'm your boss and you—" "Because it makes me want things I shouldn't," I said, and watched her freeze, watched her breath catch, watched her hand go to her chest like I'd struck her. "I'm Garrett Walsh, 33 years old, and 4 years ago I lost my wife Rachel and our daughter Emma in childbirth. One night, I went from expecting father to widower and grieving parent all at once. I survived by shutting down, by throwing myself into work at Brennan Industries, by convincing myself that I'd had my one chance at love and asking for more was greedy. And then I met Natalie Brennan. Not met. She'd been my boss for 2 years. But 2 months ago, something changed. We were working late on the Donovan account. Massive client, career-making deal. Everyone else had gone home. It was just us in the conference room at 11 p.m., and she'd kicked off her heels, was sitting cross-legged in her chair eating Chinese food straight from the container. Her hair was falling out of its professional bun. She looked exhausted and real, and nothing like the untouchable director who ran morning briefings with military precision. She said something about the client's ridiculous demands. And I laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in 4 years, I felt something other than the numbness that had become my normal. And she looked at me, not like a boss assessing an employee, like a woman, seeing a man, like someone who recognized the same loneliness in my eyes that she'd been carrying in hers. "When was the last time you laughed like that?" she asked softly. 4 years ago, I said before I could stop myself. "The night before my wife died. I saw something crack in her professional armor, saw tears gather in her green eyes. I'm sorry, Garrett. I didn't know you were married. I don't talk about it. She died in childbirth. We lost our daughter too, Emma. I lost them both in one night." Natalie set down her chopsticks. Her hand covered her mouth. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." "It's okay. It was 4 years ago." "No," she said, and her voice was fierce. "It's not okay. It will never be okay. And you don't have to pretend it is, not with me." And something in my chest that had been frozen solid for 4 years started to thaw, started to hurt, started to feel. "My ex-husband told me I was too intense," she said quietly, looking at her hands. "Too ambitious, too demanding. He said I was cold, unlovable, that my career made me impossible to be with. I believed him for 6 years of marriage and 3 years after the divorce." She looked up at me. "But you don't see me like that, do you?" "No," I said honestly. "I see someone who cares so much she terrifies herself with how much she feels." And for just a moment, sitting there in that conference room with takeout containers and spreadsheets between us, I felt hope, desire, the terrifying possibility that maybe I wasn't done living, that maybe Rachel wouldn't want me to be dead inside forever. That's when I knew I was in trouble. That's when I started avoiding being alone with Natalie Brennan. Because she made me forget I was supposed to be numb. She made me want to wake up in the morning. She made me wonder if choosing to live again was honoring Rachel or betraying her. She made me feel guilty for wanting something, someone, again. So I stopped making eye contact in meetings, stopped working late when she was in the office, took the stairs to avoid elevators where we might be trapped alone for 30 seconds, brought coffee for the entire team except her, because giving Natalie coffee felt too personal, too much like caring. I watched her notice, watched confusion flicker across her face when I'd practically sprint from conference rooms the moment meetings ended, watched her flinch when I'd turn away mid-conversation like she'd burned me, watched the vulnerability from that night disappear behind walls thicker than before, and I hated myself for hurting her. But I was more terrified of the alternative, of letting her in, of risking my heart again, of dishonoring the wife and daughter I'd buried. Until today. Until she followed me into the supply room on the 3rd floor. Until she locked the door behind us. until she asked me the question I'd been dreading for 2 months. Why do you avoid being alone with me? And now here we were. Natalie Brennan standing 3 feet away with tears in her eyes, and me having just told her the truth that could end both our careers. What things? Natalie whispered, and I heard it, the tremor underneath the words, the hope, the fear. What things do you want that you shouldn't, Garrett? The fluorescent light above us flickered. I could smell her perfume, something with vanilla and cedar. Could see a tear sliding down her cheek. Could hear my own heart pounding so loud, I thought she must hear it too. I want to stop surviving and start living, I said, and my voice came out raw, broken. I want to wake up and feel something other than empty. I want to believe Rachel would forgive me for wanting to be happy again. I stopped, swallowed hard. I want to know if you feel this too. If I'm losing my mind. If these 2 months of avoiding being alone with you have been torture for you, the way they've been torture for me. Natalie made a sound that was half sob, half breath. More tears spilled down her face. You think you're the only one who's been avoiding being alone? She said, and her voice shook. Garrett, I've been taking the long way to my office to avoid passing your desk. I've been scheduling meetings in buildings across campus just so I don't have to see you in the hallway. I've been leaving at 4 p.m. for the first time in 3 years because staying late means risking running into you when everyone else is gone. My heart stopped, started again. Beat so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Why? I asked. Why would you avoid me? Because I'm your boss, she said, fresh tears streaming. Because I'm 38 years old and divorced, and I spent 6 years being told I'm too much for anyone to love. Because my ex-husband, Trevor, works in legal 2 floors down, and he's been watching us, Garrett. I've seen him. Because falling for you, for my employee, could destroy everything I've built in this company. Because wanting you terrifies me. Terrified of what? She looked at me with those green eyes that had haunted my dreams for 2 months. That you'll want me back. That you won't. That I'll have to choose between my career and the first real thing I've felt in 3 years. That this, whatever this is between us, will prove Trevor right. That I am too much. That wanting you makes me weak and stupid and— You're not too much, I said, cutting her off. You're not weak. And wanting someone doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human. Does it? Her voice broke completely. Because I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm a director, Garrett. I run this entire division, and I can't even walk past your desk without my heart racing. I can't be in the same meeting without wondering if you're looking at me. I lie awake at night wondering if you think about me the way I think about you. And it's pathetic. I'm pathetic. You're not pathetic, I said, and I took a step closer. Just 1 step. But it closed the distance to 2 feet. Close enough to see the gold flecks in her green eyes, close enough to smell her shampoo, close enough to touch her if I was brave enough. You're lonely, you're scared, you're human, just like me. Garrett, she whispered, and I heard the warning in my name. The please don't, and the please do all tangled together. I'm not afraid of your intensity, Natalie, I said quietly. I'm not afraid that you feel too much. I'm afraid that I don't deserve to feel this way about someone again, that wanting you dishonors Rachel's memory, that I'm being selfish and greedy for asking for a second chance at happiness when she doesn't get one. Natalie's eyes filled with fresh tears. Does it? She asked softly. Or does staying dead inside dishonor the life Rachel would have wanted you to live? And that question broke something in me, something I'd been holding on to for 4 years. The belief that surviving meant suffering, that loving Rachel meant never loving anyone else, that moving forward was the same as forgetting. I reached out, touched her face, wiped away a tear with my thumb, and Natalie leaned into my hand like she'd been starving for touch, like my hand on her cheek was water after years in a desert. What are we doing? She breathed. Something that could destroy us both, I said, or save us both. I don't know which. And then the door handle rattled. Someone was trying to get in. We both froze. My hand still on Natalie's face, her tears still wet on my fingers. Our careers, our futures, everything we'd built hanging in the balance of whoever was on the other side of that locked door. The handle rattled again, harder this time. Hello? A male voice, familiar, cold. Natalie? Are you in there? The door's locked. Natalie's face went white. Her whole body went rigid. It's Trevor, she whispered, my ex-husband. Natalie pulled away from me like I'd burned her, wiped her tears, straightened her blouse, and I watched her transform in 3 seconds from the vulnerable woman who'd just confessed her feelings to the untouchable director of operations who ran this building. Just a minute, Trevor, she called out, her voice steady, professional, like we hadn't just been confessing we were falling for each other, like her ex-husband wasn't about to catch us locked in a supply room together. She looked at me, mouthed the words, I'm sorry, and unlocked the door. Trevor Brennan stood in the doorway, late 40s, expensive suit, cold blue eyes that went straight to me, then back to Natalie, calculating. I'd seen him around the building, worked in legal, 2 floors down. Never knew he was her ex-husband until she'd told me 5 minutes ago. Natalie, he said, smiling. But it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a shark that smelled blood. And Garrett Walsh. Interesting. What were you two doing in here with the door locked? Inventory audit, Natalie said smoothly. Garrett was helping me verify supplies for the quarterly budget report. Trevor's eyes flicked to the shelves, to the printer paper and staplers and boxes of pens, then back to us, to Natalie's red eyes, to the tear tracks still visible on her cheeks, to the way I was standing too close to her. Inventory audit, he repeated. That made you cry? Allergies, Natalie said. The dust in here. Right? Allergies. Trevor stepped into the supply room. The space suddenly felt half the size. You know what's funny, Natalie? I've been keeping track. You and Mr. Walsh have been working late together a lot. The Donovan account, the Richardson merger, the Hayes proposal, always just the two of you. Always after everyone else goes home. My stomach dropped. He'd been watching us, documenting us. We're colleagues, Natalie said, but I heard the fear underneath. Working on projects, that's literally our job, Trevor. Is it? He pulled out his phone, showed us the screen. It was a photo, blurry, taken from across the parking lot, but unmistakable. Natalie and me leaving the building together last week. She was laughing at something I'd said. I was looking at her like she hung the moon. Is this what colleagues look like? Because to me this looks like a director having an inappropriate relationship with her subordinate. You're stalking me, Natalie said, and her voice shook now. Taking pictures of me? That's protecting the company, Trevor cut her off. From a liability, from a director who's so desperate and lonely she's breaking fraternization policy with an employee young enough to... I'm 33, I said, cutting him off. And we haven't broken any policy. Trevor's smile widened. Haven't you? Then why was the door locked? Why were you touching her face? Yes, I saw through the window before you heard me at the door. He looked at Natalie. I'm filing an official complaint with HR. Monday morning. Inappropriate relationship, abuse of power, creating hostile work environment, unless what? Natalie's voice was ice. Unless you resign, Trevor said simply. Effective immediately. Give up your position, walk away quietly, and I'll forget what I saw here today. The fluorescent light flickered again. I could hear Natalie's breathing, fast, shallow, panicked, could see her hands shaking, could see 15 years of her career hanging in the balance because of me, because she'd felt something, because she'd been human for 5 minutes. No, I said, she's not resigning. Trevor looked at me like I was an insect. Excuse me? I said no. If anyone's resigning, it's me. I'll transfer departments. I'll leave the company. Whatever it takes. But Natalie's not giving up her career because of your vendetta. Garrett, Natalie started. How noble, Trevor interrupted, the grieving widower playing hero. Tell me, Walsh, does your dead wife know you're screwing? Your boss? I moved before I could think, had Trevor against the wall, my forearm across his throat, saw red, saw 4 years of grief and rage and pain focused on this man who'd just weaponized Rachel's death. Garrett, stop! Natalie grabbed my arm, pulled me back, and I let her, because I saw tears streaming down her face, because I saw fear in her eyes, not of me, but for me. Please, he's not worth it. I stepped back. My hands were shaking. Trevor straightened his tie, still smiling. That's assault. I have another witness now. The complaint just got bigger. He looked at Natalie. You have until end of business today to resign, or Monday morning, I destroy you both. He walked out. left us standing there in the wreckage. Natalie sank to the floor, her back against the wall, and I watched this powerful woman who ran entire divisions break into pieces right in front of me. 15 years, she whispered. I've spent 15 years building this career, clawing my way up in a company that didn't want to promote women, fighting for every ounce of respect, and Trevor's going to destroy it all in one email on Monday morning. I knelt beside her, took her hand. Then we both walk away. Right now, we resign together, find new jobs, start over somewhere he can't touch us. She looked at me with devastated eyes. You'd throw away 6 years of your career for someone you've known for 2 months? For someone who makes me want to live again? I said. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Natalie's face crumpled. She pulled her hand away. No, I won't let you do that. Rachel would hate me for it. Your wife gave you everything, her life, your daughter's life, and I'm not going to be the reason you lose your career too. You're going to go back to your desk. We're going to pretend this conversation never happened. And on Monday, I'm resigning. Natalie? It's already done, Garrett. Fresh tears poured down her face. Trevor was right. I am too much, too desperate, too pathetic. A 38-year-old woman throwing away her career because some employee made her feel wanted for 5 minutes. God, I'm such a cliché. Stop it, I said, grabbing her shoulders. You're not a cliché. You're not desperate. You're the bravest person I know. You chose to feel something in a world that punishes women for having emotions. You chose to be vulnerable when vulnerability could destroy you. That's not weakness. That's courage. It doesn't feel like courage, she sobbed. It feels like I'm losing everything. My job, my reputation, the respect I fought so hard for. And for what? For a relationship that's probably going to fall apart in 6 months anyway? For feelings that might not even be real? Are they real for you? I asked quietly. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it. All the loneliness, all the fear, all the desperate hope that maybe this time someone would choose her, would see her, would love her for exactly who she was. Yes, she whispered. God help me. Yes, they're real. Then fight for them, I said. Fight for us. Don't let Trevor win. Don't let him take your joy the way he took your confidence. Don't let fear make your decisions. I'm so scared, she breathed. Me too, I admitted. I'm terrified. Terrified that wanting you means forgetting Rachel. Terrified that I'm asking you to risk everything when I don't know if I'm even capable of loving someone again. Terrified that we're both about to lose our careers for something that might destroy us anyway. And then a voice said, or something that might save you both. We both froze. Looked up. Carolyn Mitchell stood in the doorway, CEO of Brennan Industries, the woman who controlled every job in this building. Her face was unreadable. My heart stopped. This was it. We were both fired. Ms. Mitchell, Natalie scrambled to stand. I'm so sorry. I was just about to submit my resignation. Sit down, Natalie, Caroline said quietly, and there was something in her voice. Something soft, almost gentle. Natalie sat. I stayed kneeling beside her. Caroline walked into the supply room, closed the door behind her, and when she turned to face us, I saw tears in her eyes. My wife died 12 years ago, Caroline said. Margaret. We had 25 years together, and when she died, I buried myself in this company, worked 90-hour weeks, slept in my office, told myself that loving her once was enough for a lifetime. She paused, wiped her eyes. And then 7 years ago I met Jennifer. She was my executive assistant, 20 years younger than me, beautiful and kind and everything Margaret would have wanted for me. And you know what I did? We said nothing, couldn't speak. I pushed her away, Caroline continued, her voice breaking. Told myself it was inappropriate, that people would talk, that it would compromise my authority, that I was too old, too set in my ways, too broken to love again. I let her walk away, watched her move to Seattle, marry someone else, have the life I was too afraid to give her. Tears slipped down Caroline's cheeks. She died 3 years ago. Car accident. And I never got to tell her that I loved her. That she was right. I was just scared. That choosing my reputation over her was the biggest mistake of my life. The supply room was completely silent, except for the sound of 3 people crying. Trevor Brennan has been watching you both, Caroline said, pulling herself together, taking photos, building a case. He came to my office an hour ago with a folder of evidence, demanded I fire you both for fraternization violations. She looked at us. I told him to clean out his desk. He's been terminated for workplace harassment, for stalking a former spouse, for creating a hostile work environment. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. Garrett, Caroline turned to me. Monday morning, you're being promoted to Director of Strategic Planning. New department. You'll report to me. It removes the conflict of interest. She looked at Natalie. You'll disclose this relationship to HR. Do it right. No hiding. Why? Natalie whispered. Why would you do this for us? Caroline smiled through her tears. Because you get a second chance, and I'm not going to let you waste it the way I wasted mine. Because love is rare and precious, and life is too damn short to choose fear over happiness. Because Margaret would want this for me, would want me to save someone else from making my mistake. She walked to the door, stopped. Don't wait, you two. Don't waste years being afraid. I lost 7 years with Jennifer because I was a coward. Don't be like me. She left, and Natalie turned to me with tears streaming down her face. Did that really just happen? She breathed. I pulled her into my arms, held her like she was the only real thing in a world that had just turned upside down. Yeah, it really did. Garrett, she said into my chest, I'm still terrified. Me too, I admitted, but I'd rather be terrified with you than safe and alone without you. She pulled back, looked up at me. Kiss me. So I did. Finally, after 2 months of avoiding being alone with her, after 2 months of fighting what I felt. I kissed Natalie Brennan in a supply room surrounded by printer paper and staplers, and it felt like choosing life, like honoring Rachel by living instead of just surviving, like coming home to a place I didn't know I'd been searching for. 1 year later, I married Natalie in the botanical gardens where Rachel and I used to walk. My sister stood beside me. Carolyn walked Natalie down the aisle, and I knew Rachel would have loved her, would have wanted this for me, would have forgiven me for being brave enough to love again. We learned that avoiding being alone with someone you love doesn't protect you. It just makes you lonelier. That second chances are real. That love doesn't dishonor the past. It honors the future. My boss asked why I avoided being alone with her. I told the truth, and that truth gave us everything. Have you ever avoided being alone with someone because what you felt scared you? Have you ever let fear choose your future instead of love? Are you brave enough to risk everything for someone who makes you feel alive? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. But before you go, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell. Because I almost gave up on this channel. People told me these stories don't matter, that nobody cares about second chances and choosing courage over fear. Prove them wrong. Show me that stories about real love, about being brave enough to feel again, about not letting fear win, show me these stories matter to you. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because your story might be next, and you deserve to know you're not alone in being afraid to love again.